shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. There's a tradition with many faiths where they read the obituary as part of the service, and so I'm going to include that also for Brenda. Brenda J. Kirts, 77, of Bourbonnais, Illinois, passed away Friday, November 17, 2023, in Franklin, Indiana, surrounded by her loved ones. She was born on October 16, 1946, in Columbus, Indiana, to Burl and Rissy Kirts. Brenda grew up in Nashville, Indiana, and graduated with honors from Brown County High School. She attended Olivet Nazarene College at that time, graduating with high honors in 1969, with a BA in education. As a student athlete, she was recognized by being inducted into Olivet's Athletic Hall of Fame in 1988. She received her master's degree from Indiana State University in 1977. In 1969, Brenda started her teaching-coaching career at Bradley Bourbonnais High School. She taught physical education, driver ed, and health. She coached the girls' tennis and badminton teams. She was active in numerous ways at the school. She was a SAD sponsor, gym leader, Winter Sports Festival chairperson, water safety instructor during the open pool hours. She did summer tennis camps, and she was a teacher union negotiator, just to name a few of the things that Brenda did. She retired after 33 years at BBCHS in 2002. Brenda had a kind and generous spirit. She helped many with little fanfare or recognition. She had a positive way of encouraging others to be their best self. Her strong faith shone brightly and gave her the strength to endure whatever life threw at her. She was a member of Parkview Church of the Nazarene. She loved to read, golf, and go camping. After retiring, she enjoyed traveling the country in her motorhome. Brenda is survived by her brother Omar and Marilyn Kirts, her sister Sue Hardwick, nieces Edith Jane Rosenberry, Angela and Mike Mathis, and Christina Hardwick, great-nephews Tully Hardwick McKee and Seth Mathis, and great-niece Micah K. Mathis. She is preceded in death by her parents and her brother-in-law, Don Hardwick. Memorials may be made to the Alzheimer's Association. In putting this together, I decided to kind of go in the order of someone's life. And so I know many of you here, we're from the Bourbonnais area, whether you were from, know Brenda from school, whether you know her just from the community or just as a friend as I was. But you don't know her from, her time in Nashville. So we're going to start out with her sister-in-law, Marilyn Kirts, what she's going to do is she's going to read a letter. Well, I take that back. It was a card Brenda's mother sent her on her 50th birthday. And when I was going through Brenda's stuff, I found this card, and the message her mother wrote, to me, kind of sums up what their family was like. So Marilyn's going to come up and read that letter.
Okay, this is my mother-in-law penning this to Brenda. She says, "Hi, honey. As I look back over 50 years, I remember when you were born, so tiny, I was almost afraid to handle you. Grew well, and it wasn't long before you were fat and chubby and a happy little baby, so precious to me and your dad. I remember when you almost fell in the cistern and how scared I was. It couldn't have been so different. I had not heard the chain rattle and had Omer to check on you. No wonder I sat down and cried, and I held you so close to my heart, where you have already been. I always have a prayer in my heart for you as well as all and Sue. I love you all so much. I don't know how I got so lucky having such great children, but I did do my best to raise you right. We did have some good times, didn't we? And I think the longest day of my life was the day you were operated on for cancer, and I couldn't get there with you. Thank God for Sue, who is so precious and willing to help in times of need. And if Omer, for being so thoughtful to you since your operation. You know I am not good at writing or putting things down on paper, but just wanted to tell you how much I love you and to give you some encouragement today, and to you, wishing you the best birthday for having you ever had. Love, Mom. And here she penned a note. P.S. Here is money for your birthday pizza. Take care of yourself. You will always be my little girl, no matter how old you get, Mom. She was a great gal, my sister-in-law.
A verse I chose to read is John 14, verses 1 through 3. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. I couldn't get anyone to volunteer to sing, and I wasn't going to sing, but I wanted a hymn to have for today. I didn't tell Sue and Marilyn this, but the church, Brenda, when she lived here in Bourbonnais, she attended college church for several years. I know early on, I believe she went to the Mantino Church of the Nazarene, and I think some of the other, she was Nazarene obviously, and she went to some of the different Nazarene churches and that. But when she was in Nashville at home, the church in Nashville is the Parkview Church of the Nazarene. The music director's name is Cindy Larson, and the music that I was playing before we started was a CD that she had made of her piano music, and Brenda had it in her car and would listen to it. So I texted Cindy and said, would you be willing to sing for this? And she said yes. So we're going to sing, and I'd like everyone to feel free to sing along with me or with Cindy. She had a few of, I don't know who the other people are, I don't know, it's the choir from the church, but we're going to sing In the Garden.
Oh
if we moved into Brenda's life here, you know, as I read in her obituary in 1969, she was hired by BBCHS and spent, you know, her whole working career here. And there's nobody better than to give us some insight into that than Darla Moldenhauer.
Good afternoon, family, friends, colleagues, students, athletes, and anyone who knew and befriended Brenda Kirts. I'm Darla Moldenhauer. I'm a colleague of Brenda's for many, many years. Brenda began her teaching career here at BBCHS in 1969. If memory serves me right, I believe Brenda was hired to replace the striking teachers at Bradley Bourbonnais. Something happened, 68 or 69. The teachers were dissatisfied. They went on strike. The school board at Bradley Bourbonnais High School fired every one of them. So many of them left for other schools, other locations. There was an onslaught of new teachers. And Brenda, being a graduate of Olivet and here in the community, had the opportunity to come in 1969, and I think it probably was mid-year, sometime in the fall. Those of us that came a little later always heard stories about the strike and who came then and who came afterwards. In the following years, Ethel Cole, Nancy Brown, myself, Kathy Steffen, and Linda Lynn were all hired to teach physical education. So I'm going to give you a little background, mostly for the Indiana people. How much did we know Brenda? So I'll set the scene. We shared an office with 5 or 6 large wooden desks and a file cabinet. It was a fairly large office. We also had a little locker room, a bathroom, and a closet with only one telephone there. When we were in that office, it was fully surrounded by brick and mortar. On one side of us, behind my desk, we had the gym. On one side, we had a hallway in the girls' locker room. On 2 sides, we had hallways. We had no view of the outside world. We didn't know what the weather was. We really didn't know what was going on in the hallways. Obviously, our classes were taught in the gym, in the field, up in a balcony, whatever we were teaching at the time. But every morning we would come in together with the 5 or 6 of us, put our things down, say hello. In between classes, we would come back to our desk. We would do paperwork, bookwork, small exchanges. Before school, between classes, and during our lunch break, which was usually at our desks, we each taught about 5 classes a day, all with different times. So when some of us were teaching in the gym or balcony, health room or outdoors, one of us may have had a free period or lunch. Again, mostly eaten at our desk. What I'm describing is that the 5 or 6 of us, depending on the years, had a much tighter working environment than most other teachers. Most other teachers had a classroom and a desk, and we had 6 women in one confined area that we saw every day, every hour, every week, and some of us for 30 years. In the early years, in the early 60s, late 60s and 70s, we were expected to dress professionally, which meant the school didn't want us to come in our shorts or our warm-up suit. No, we needed to wear a skirt. All the other teachers wore skirts or heels. We had to also comply with that. Well, fortunately, we figured out what a skirt was. A sport is like a skirt with a divider in the middle, a little bit more casual. And then we also figured out wraparound skirts. So we would come into school in our skirt or wraparound, take that off, put on our physical education outfit, teach our classes. If we needed to go to the main office or the cafeteria or the teacher's lounge, we would have to change our clothes. The inconvenience of changing each time we exited our teaching probably reinforced our choice to remain in our office for lunch and free time. We were typically not the teacher's lounge gals. So early in our career, we were the girls' physical education department. At the far end of this long, rambling building was the boys' physical education department. They had their own office, their own gym. Our gym, girls, was called the North Gym. Theirs was called the East Gym, and then we still had a main gym that we shared. These days, they go by different names. And then, so let me go back. We women had a set curriculum, certain rules, probably fair to say a different surrounding than the boys' PE department. And I know we have two men from the PE department here, and I think they can relate to that as well. So any time of the day, students would come into our office. They would ask their teacher, "What are we doing in class today?" "Well, you'll find out. Just get dressed and come to class." "Do we have to run today?" "Yes, you do. Go get dressed." "Do we have to dress out today?" "Yes, you do." "I don't feel good. Can I go to the nurse?" "No. Get dressed and come to class and try." Occasionally, we'd get some really good excuses and stories, of which we would come into the office, close the door behind us, and say to the rest of the teachers, "Wait till you hear this one." We should have written a book. Since our students had to change clothes before and after classes, they had a few minutes of casual time. So many times we got to know a little bit more about a few of our students. Some confided in us. Some just needed some individual attention. We had moments to listen or to speak to our students differently from a routine classroom setting. It was easier for our students to connect with us if they chose to. When Title IX was passed, BBCHS started the first girls sports team in 1973. 50 years ago this year, we celebrated this milestone for girls and women in sports. At BBCHS, 4 of us became the first official girls sports coaches, with 6 sports offered: volleyball, basketball, softball, track, badminton, and tennis. Brenda Kirts was the coach for both tennis and badminton. She continued coaching these 2 sports through the remainder of her career. Although in physical education class, we all taught every sport, if there was a question or an update with the racket sports, Brenda was our go-to person. I know there's several of her athletes and students here today who I hope will share a memory of Coach Kirts. There are students of hers today who are in the gym leader program. This was a special class during a student's junior year, made to prepare them to assist as a senior leader in class. Brenda headed this program for many years, always preparing those students with leadership skills. So, of colleagues of Brenda's, for all our careers, we saw each other daily, weekly, and yearly. In the downtime, we shared stories of our lives outside of school. The 6 of us shared news of marriages, babies, parents, nieces, and nephews. We spent more time with each other daily than we did with our own extended family. We knew of Brenda's parents and the beauty of Brown County. We heard about her brother and sister and their families. Brenda spoke with pride about the growth and accomplishment of her nieces. Although we haven't met, we felt we knew much about Brenda's hometown and family. So for the three colleagues who are here today, myself, Linda Lynn, and Kathy Steffen, would you raise your hands? The three of us taught with Brenda most of our career. We'd like Brenda's family to know that Brenda was dedicated and a respected teacher. She was strict, kind, professional, compassionate, organized, and loyal to her students and BBCHS. This high school and the community was fortunate to have Brenda Kirts as a professional teacher for 30+ years of her career. She leaves a legacy and a ton of memories to those of us who worked with her, cared about her, played for her, and learned for her. Brenda was an outstanding teacher, mentor, and a truly good woman.
I'm not from this community, so I was not a former student or anything. I got hired here in January of 1982. I went to Western Illinois University. My name's in the program. My name is Cheryl. Right? But it took me an extra half semester to get my teaching degree. And while I was finishing up, the student teacher came, or the supervisor of student teachers came and said, there's an opening at Kankakee Westview. Well, I grew up in Lansing, Illinois, and anything south of 80 was like the country. And so when I came to be interviewed, I was trying to find a Schuyler Avenue, which I didn't spell correctly. And then obviously that was before cell phones and GPS and that. But I got hired at Westview. And so I started in January of 82. I had a cousin who helped me find a place to live in Kankakee. Fortunate for me, the place that I found to rent, they had a friend, and this friend came over and invited me to a Bible study. And so it either was at the end of that January or the beginning of February. I said, sure. You know, I didn't know anybody, wanted to meet people. And so I went to this Bible study. Well, Brenda was also invited to that Bible study. Well, we kind of clicked right away. My degree was in PE, even though I was teaching math at the time. And so we hit it off. And so from 1982 to 2023, we were friends. In 1985, I decided public school teaching I wasn't going to make it to 33 years like Brenda, Darla, and the rest of them. And that I needed to find something else to do. I did enjoy teaching, but high school just wasn't for me. So in the summer of 85, you know, Brenda and I were close friends at that time. I quit my job, and I asked her, I said, you know, could I just stay with you for, a few weeks, maybe a month, while I figure out what I'm going to do, where I'm going to get a job and that. Well, I never moved out of the house. And so from 1985 until today, I've lived in the same house with Brenda. And it's been a wonderful friendship. As I put all these pictures together, normally I would write something out exactly like Darla did, but this is what I wrote. I could not find the words of what I would want to say to memorialize or to express what kind of person Brenda was for me. So I'm going to show you two pictures. I tried to find the earliest picture I had of the two of us. One of the things that we did with this Bible study back in 1982, we had to memorize Bible verses, and that wasn't that great for us. But we also, because we were both athletic in that, we would jog together. And so as we jogged, we would recite the verses and try to use that as a way to memorize. And so we did a lot of running the first few years. Brenda's older than I am, so for me, I was, 23, 24 at the time, but she was already 36, and so I could outpace her, pretty quickly and that. But we spent, the first couple of years, just, as friends, getting to know each other and doing a lot of sports together. So I have a picture of us when we were jogging. The day she passed away in November 17th, Sue and Marilyn and I were together, we're with her. But at the end of September, I visited her, and so the last picture I have of the two of us together, I have that. So the one I'm going to show you, now I'm going to say this, which Brenda probably would, if she were alive, would tell me, don't show this picture. She did color her hair up till maybe the last 6 months or so, and then stopped, and so she did go gray, and Sue hadn't trimmed it, so it's a little longer than it normally would be, but it's still a wonderful picture of her. You'll recognize her. So this is the friendship that I had for 41 years. We started out as jogging friends, studying the Bible together, going out to eat, allowing me to move in and become, a close friend of hers. And that's how we ended. It was a beautiful day, that day in September, and that's what I'm going to hang on to as my memory for Brenda. Some of these pictures that we're scrolling at the beginning, and I'm going to use to scroll while, the others of you share. When she retired, we camped. Now, before she retired, we went camping. We started out, our first camping trip was with tents, and, it was pretty quick where, okay, I don't like sleeping on the ground, and so her retirement present to herself was to buy a motorhome. And with that motorhome, we went to the first thing she got was her National Park Pass. And one of the things that's out there that I just felt I had to bring, we put in the motorhome, somebody gave her this wall hanging that said Happy Camping. And she made sure any state we were in that she'd get the little pin and put it on that sticker. And so we were shooting for, all 48 states with the motorhome. She had made it to 49 states, not all with me, and we just missed. I tried to get her to go to Alaska a year or so ago, and it just didn't work out. The last few years were tough, as her memory was slipping in that. But one of the things she would always remember would be the trips we'd take. And I think the last thing I'm just going to say, her home was also very important to her. When she saved up the money to build the house in Bourbonnais, that house meant a lot to her. She enjoyed the backyard. She was a voracious reader, and so to just come home and sit in the backyard reading a book, she found a lot of enjoyment in that. She was just the kindest person in that. And one of the things I put in the obituary, the ways that she helped people without wanting any recognition. And, maybe we'll end with that. The letter we read that her mother had sent, one of the things Brenda was able to do after retiring was to take care of her mother at her mother's end of her life. And she, for the last, I don't know if it was a year, maybe more than a year, she had just moved down to Nashville and stayed with her mom and took care of her. I mean, it was just a beautiful thing to watch and that. But occasionally when we would, not occasionally, but we would talk on the phone and that, and I would say, well, someone's having some trouble. Well, take some money in that. Just, give this person, go do this, and she'd say, make sure you do this. So she'd come up with this idea. If she was up here, before she went back down to her mom, she would take some money out, she'd give it to me, and she'd say, and we kind of called it the Do Good Fund and that. And so if I happened to see someone, or if there was anybody I could help out, I would use this Do Good Fund that she created. But what she would tell me is, just don't tell them, where it came from and that. Well, that was hard, because if I helped somebody and I gave money, I didn't want to take credit for it. And they're like, well, who did this come from? I'm like, well, I don't know. It just sort of came from somewhere. I just got this money and to help you out and that. But that's the kind of person she was. She didn't need to be in the spotlight. And that's something I, just admired in her, along with lots of other qualities. So thank you for all coming out. Darla helped us, remember Brenda as a school teacher and a coach and her career. I could go on and on as far as the friendship and that. And so we want to use this time to allow anybody here that would like to say something. You don't have to come up if you don't want to. We do have a wireless mic. I'll make sure it's working. Hello? It's working. And Linda has volunteer to kind of bring it to you.
Hi, everybody. Denise Lamore. Coach Kirts was probably the most important person in my life.
Keep it close to your mouth.
She was like a mother to me. And after I graduated, we did lose contact, but we reconnected about 5 years ago because of Coach Nancy Brown. And again, there are no words to say about Coach. Miss Kirts, she always said, "Don't call me Miss Kirts." I'm like, "Okay, Coach." Just call me Brenda. But we talked about what about every week for the last 5 years. And it was like I was back in high school, you know, but she was so supportive of me. And again, helping me get through. I was a nun for a while, and she really helped me not leave the convent, but after I left the convent, and get back on my feet and be a social worker. But she was always there to support me and help me, encourage me to continue my education. And her were just such dear friends, and I can't. Again, she was like my mom. So. I remember the first time I met her, and she looked at me with those eyes. Miss Kirts' eyes were like intense. And I was like, oh my God, she's reading right through me. But thank God she read right through me. So she kind of tried to put me back on the right course. But holds a special place in my heart forever. And I'm so glad that somehow God worked it out that she and I could reconnect in the last 5 years. And thank you, Sue, and taking such good care of her. And thank you, Cheryl, because she talked a lot about you, and certainly Sue and her family. And, you know, it's just such a pleasure to be. She brought me back. This is the first time I've been back to BBCHS since I graduated high school. But she brought me back. So thank you for listening to me.
I will read this for her. I had Miss Kirts as a teacher at BBCHS during 1990 to 1994. I remember her telling us one day that we should always touch our toes every day, otherwise one day we will wake up and find out we no longer could. That, strangely, is one thing I have always remembered. Several years ago, she was my customer at the post office. I hadn't seen her in nearly 20 years. I told her I had remembered that and that I really do touch them every day. She laughed quite merrily at that. She had such a huge smile. I haven't seen her in many years, but I still every day touch my toes. Even after a surgery, that was the one thing I had as a goal, was to quickly be able to get back to do that. I have often mentioned her and this sage advice over the years. The most recent had been just 1 week before I had read that she had passed. My friends were shocked I could still touch my toes like I did, and of course I told them why I can. I will always remember her for that and how happy she was when I got to tell her. Susan Barton, class of '94. Thank you, Susan.
So we're Cheryl's family, and Brenda was part of our family. Meant a lot to us. So we have a fourth sister, and when she couldn't appear, Brenda was our fourth. And White Sox games, 4th of July, she was there. Any party, she meant a lot to us.
I had the fortunate, to be able to go on a lot of the vacations with them when they started traveling. I have my daughter, she's in some of the pictures there, is there in the middle. yeah, she was like 12 and 13. I think I would send her off early, and then Scott and I would like fly out there and meet them when they went across the country to Seattle. And I think by the time we got there, they were all tired of Abigail. You know, my daughter, they were like, okay, she went off with the 5 women. But it's a great, I'm so glad that I had Brenda part of Abigail's life, and also my son's life. She was such a good influence. And I would always say if she was going to go somewhere, if they were going to go somewhere with Cheryl and Brenda, I was always like, now Brenda's going, you be nice, you be on your best behavior, and that, But Brenda had such a good heart, and she was so kind and loving to the both of them and to us. Like Gail said, she was just part of our family. And we just knew so much about Brenda's family. It was just like an intertwined family. And just, there's so many memories, just so many, that will go with me for the rest of my life. And I think both my kids wrote that they are who they are today for having Brenda in their lives.
One of the athletes that would have loved to have been here today was a girl who was a freshman on Brenda's 1973 Title IX 50-year anniversary team. She was a twin. Her name was Jennifer Stubbs. She played badminton, and then the next year, which was the second year of Title IX, her twin sister played, and they became doubles. And Jennifer knew and loved Miss Kirts and knew exactly what Coach Kirts wanted, needed. And some of us sort of reminisce that if we coached basketball or volleyball or softball, some of those were the more raucous sports. Some of these athletes here that played that were pretty raucous and loud, and the background of the sport kind of involved that. Well, Brenda coached the nice, quiet, competitive, but the sports that were more ladylike. So Jennifer and Becky Stubbs, the twins, who played as doubles, and of course the fun part was the opponents didn't know who was who. They didn't know who was serving, who was doing what, and they got great pride in that. But they argued a little bit. And because Jennifer had played more, they would change sides, and Jennifer said, I'd take my badminton racket and I'd snap Becky on the butt. And I'd say, you need to do this. And then they would play. And sometime when there was a break in badminton and the coach could approach the girls, Jennifer's lasting memory was Coach Kirts saying, now girls, you need to behave. And that was about the extent of it. Jennifer Stubbs is married, and she is the president of our BBCHS Academic Foundation, and she is also one of 5 women on the BBCHS school board. So she did quite well, and we're happy with her. She wanted to be here. I also have a text from one of Brenda's colleagues. This is from Kathy Colclasure. Now, Kathy Colclasure mostly played team sports, and then she started teaching, and she coached, I believe, both badminton and tennis. And she was Brenda's assistant coach. Yes. So Kathy had to learn to be nice, too. So she couldn't make it today, but she said, Miss Kirts, Coach Kirts, and then Brenda. She was my teacher, my mentor, and then my friend. She believed in people and was one of the most positive people I have ever met. I am so thankful for having known her, and she's an awe-inspiring person.
Okay. Just so you know, I I flunked an English class because I could not talk in front of people. Her name is Bonnie. Yes, her name is Bonnie Poole from high school. I was a student athlete of Miss Kirts. She was the kindest, most wonderful person you could ever know. And I just remember the most, like, we would do conditioning, and I hated running, as you can tell. But I hated conditioning. And I remember her around we'd have to run the courts, run around the courts, and she would clap and say, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Remember that, Denise?
Yeah.
Yes, so we would never get shin splints. So, yeah, she was just a most amazing person, and she will be dearly missed.
I was class of 1976. I was on post-Title IX. I was on Brenda's first badminton team. And she's pretty strict. She knows how to whip the team into shape. But she couldn't be more kinder. And I hated to disappoint her. That was the worst part. She caught me smoking one time. And she was so disappointed in me. And I wish I could have told her that I quit smoking. I no longer smoking, but I never did tell her. I don't know why, but I don't know. She was a force in my life. She kept me honest. So, anyway.
Well, what I'll add to that, if you're watching some of these pictures, the ones of her backyard where she's building the deck, and we built the fence, it was kind of one of the ways I weaseled in, I think, to living there. When I first met her, when I moved down here, she had just moved into her house about less than, I think, a year. She'd only been there a year. In the backyard, there was nothing in the backyard. And she liked to sit out there. And so she was like, okay, what about she didn't want the neighbors, what she was going to do, she wanted to build a fence. I said, well, we can build a fence. And so kind of our joke was, because I said, yeah, we can build the fence, we'll have it done by Saturday. Well, it took us a whole summer to build the fence and that. But one of the things with Brenda, she had an eye for level. I mean, you could put a picture up and she could tell you, and it's crooked, and then I put the level on, it wasn't crooked. Every one of those fence posts, we did individual pickets. Everyone had to be level. And when you put the deck in, it was perfectly level. Now, Mother Nature changed it, once the winter came in that. But there was a picture of the shed. Now, we had someone build the shed, and a while, I don't know how much longer after that, she looked at the shed. It's just, I wish it was about 6 inches this way. Now, this is the shed and that. I had to jack up the shed. I winched it to a tree, and I moved the shed 6 inches so that it looked, we could fit behind it. It was good. It was the right thing to do. But she was specific on certain things. But yes, kind when she said it. But if I put a board, if I put a brick down and it wasn't level, we fixed it. So, somebody else.
Hi, that's me. My name is Rosie Thurston, and Brenda is my first cousin. Her mother and my mother were really close. And so that meant that Sue and Brenda were some of my favorite cousins, and I just adore them. I grew up in this area, even though my mother was a transplant to here because my dad graduated from Olivet. And I remember when Brenda was at Olivet, and I was so proud that she was in my territory. And then Sue came, and she was like a big sister to me when I went to Olivet. And so it was just a really neat opportunity for me. But I also became a teacher, and Brenda was so kind to me. Every time we met, we usually met every year at the Osborne reunion, which was in June or July. And it was just always such a neat time when I could get to talk to Brenda and Sue. And I just feel like we've really lost a really special person. She was amazing, and she always treasured all of us. I was a teacher of French, and I took children to France. And she would say, do you need some money to go? And she would donate to our cause to go to France with my kids. And so that was always such a special memory for me, that she was so interested. She wanted to know all about the trips, and she wanted to know how they were going. And I just appreciate that so much about her. She is such a kind person, and I just will dearly miss her.
At the end of the ceremony today, we have some cookies out on the table that depict the two sports that she coached, badminton and tennis, her two loves for activities for women in sports.
I'm just going to read some memories someone sent me also. Brenda had a group of friends in Olivet. There were 7 of them, and they have stayed in touch. This group right here. They have stayed in touch. They had their 50th homecoming reunion at Olivet in 2019, which means next year will be their 55th reunion. The 2014, Brenda was taking care of her mother, and I had to host the group. They were just a wonderful group. They laughed the whole time, and they missed Brenda. So one of the friends in that group, she just sent a little bit of memories. When we attended college at Olivet Nazarene University, there were 7 of us girls who ran around together a lot. Me, which is Sandy, Brenda, Jeannie, Donna, Bonnie, Judy, and Marilyn. Jeannie's sister named us F Troop. We graduated in '69, and all of us became school teachers. We have kept in touch with each other ever since then, and for the last several years, we have met via Zoom once a month. Brenda was such a compassionate friend. In 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to undergo surgery and radiation treatments. Brenda understood what I was going through, and for about 6 months, every week she sent me an encouragement card with a note inside. She helped me get through my cancer journey. In 2018, 2 of us F-troopers lost our jobs within the same month. Brenda asked us to meet her in Martinsville for lunch. She listened to us, encouraged us, and paid for our meals. Later in 2018, Brenda paid for airfare for F-Troop to go to Hilton Head, South Carolina together. She covered the airfare for me, Jeannie, Bonnie, Judy, and Marilyn, and herself to fly to Atlanta, Georgia, where we met up with Donna and continued our trip in a large rented van. We had so much fun together that week. Brenda was a kind, generous, caring friend. She had such a quiet spirit. I have no bad memories of her, and I sincerely miss her. She was a beautiful, rare jewel. Anyone else have anything to say? I want to thank you for coming out. It's been hard, without Brenda. Finding pictures is a nice way to kind of go through that grief. It brings up, I have so much memories in that. I don't have anything special to end it with, other than to say thank you. And as Linda said, we have a few of Brenda's things out there, but also make sure you take a cookie with you, and we have a little memory card that you can take. So thank you.